I was running at that time the Children's Health Defense, which was the premier advocate. And she was traveling with the truckers from Alberta all the way to Ottawa. And
check out what RFK Jr. is saying about crypto at the Bitcoin conference. Believe it or not, my internet died
were doing something that all of us
right before he started speaking. Crazy.
Take for granted. They were assembling to petition their government about something that they thought was important, which was that the impacts, the financial impacts of the mandates on their businesses. If you look at the videos of that event, it was like Woodstock. People were giving out water bottles, they were picking up trash, they were playing music, they were being kind to each other. But it was portrayed by the Canadian government as a right-wing, extremist, violent terror organization. And the government began using facial recognition systems and other forms of surveillance to learn the identity of the truckers, looking at their license plates, et cetera. And then it froze their bank accounts. And it froze their $12 million PayPal account. And when Canada did that, it occurred that the premier template of democracy in the world besides the United States, it occurred to me immediately that transactional freedom was as important as freedom of expression in the First Amendment. Because if the government has the capacity, none of these truckers were charged with a crime, much less convicted. And yet the government was able to shut down their bank accounts. They couldn't pay their mortgages. They couldn't buy diesel for their trucks. They couldn't buy food for their children. One trucker told me that he was going to jail because he couldn't make mandatory alimony payments. Oh. And if a government is able to starve you, to evict you from your home, if you speak out against it, if you criticize government policies, then we are on the road to totalitarianism and slavery. And I began at that time looking seriously for alternatives, and it was that incident that led me immediately to grasp the potential of this technology to provide transactional freedom and self-sovereignty. Last year at this conference, I proposed that as your president, I would fight to ensure the right to self-custody Bitcoin, to run nodes in our own homes, to stop the federal government from usurping the First Amendment rights to open source, privacy-enhancing technologies. I pledged to prevent government officials from adopting CBDCs, which would inevitably morph into what we saw in Canada, a malevolent tool for surveillance and control. Most importantly, I promise to secure the United States position as the global hub of cryptocurrency, innovation and entrepreneurship and investment and technology.
Absolutely what we would love to hear.
As a lifelong environmentalist, I embrace Bitcoin as a mechanism for incentivizing greater investments in green and renewable energy production. After the time I spent with Bitcoiners last year, I left the Miami conference so enthralled with optimism and excitement about Bitcoin and its potential to eliminate the national debt as a hedge against inflation, its promise to guarantee personal freedom, to restore the American middle class, to end government corruption, to defund the war machine, and to protect our environment. And I happened just before that, at Miami convention, I got a big check from the fees from winning the Monsanto case. And I took most of that check, which represented the largest portion of my personal wealth, and I invested it all in Bitcoin.
Oh my goodness, he's so pro Bitcoin.
Now, I didn't do that with the hopes for a quick return on investment. I was told you might have to wait a long time. and you might have to have a lot of anxiety and angina. But
It's a little
I
volatile.
was prepared for that. But if that had been my sole motive, by the way, I would not have been disappointed. 'Cause I got in it with good timing. But over the past year, I've gone even further down the rabbit hole. Let me put it, the orange rabbit hole. I'm convinced now more than ever that we have to work together to put all these proposals into action immediately. America's at a crossroads. We can either continue down the path we are on, racking up debt, constricting freedom, addicted to war, or we can look forward to use new technologies like Bitcoin to help us evolve.
I mean, it's
Achieve again
2024
our
now.
promise as a moral authority, and the world's
people still don't use
exemplar for
Bitcoin.
incorruptible,
And keep Bitcoin.
incorruptible
Keep their wealth on
democratic
Bitcoin.
governance. Now, I'm very happy to learn that I'm not the only one talking about Bitcoin in this year's election. Nothing could make me more joyful than to see other political leaders now jumping on the Bitcoin bandwagon. I've had over a year's head start to study, to understand, to articulate the potential of Bitcoin. And my goal as the first Bitcoin president will be to enact policies that will make America the world's greatest representative for Bitcoin and a proponent of its democratic values. I grew up assuming that America would always maintain its status as the world leader, the leader of the free world. But ever since the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1993, we've paradoxically been moving in a declining spiral away from that goal. Hubris, military adventurism, and corruption have put America's political and economic power in precipitous decline. Our dollar is rapidly losing its reserve currency status because we've weaponized it against other countries. When we disagree with the policies of another country, we kick them off the SWIFT system and we debank them. As a predictable result of that strategy, the BRICS nations are now in the process of de-dollarizing by getting off the petrodollar. They realize that trading their commodities and other hard resources for money that is printed out
Hi,
of
everyone,
thin
tuning
air
in. This is
a
going on
losing
Bitcoin,
proposition.
so we're trying not to talk that
This
much.
trend will
What's up,
likely
though?
accelerate until we make the tough transition toward backing our debt obligations with hard assets again. I have a plan to strengthen the U.S. dollar and lower the interest rates and neutralize our $34 trillion debt by backing U.S. Treasury bills, notes, and bonds with hard assets, including a combination of precious metals and Bitcoin.
Oh my goodness, I love it. This is the first time I've heard a plan, other than like Michael
Backing
Saylor
US debt
earlier today,
obligations by collateralizing
to
them with
pay
hard
off the
assets
debt.
Not only restores strength to the dollar, it reins in inflation, and it will usher in a new era of American financial stability, prosperity, and peace. The world needs to believe that we have safely handcuffed our government and its ability to create money out of thin air with no proof of work. The innovative strategy that I'm proposing leverages the scarcity and liquidity of
I
Bitcoin,
can't believe this is real.
along with gold and other hard
I mean,
assets.
this is a presidential running
Restore the
candidate.
dollar's dominance
Granted, his
in global
you know
finance.
his numbers are
The
not
world
good,
will
but
rush to
still,
adopt an American-backed, decentralized currency
this is
that cannot be
crazy.
confiscated by governments, that can be traded and transacted on cell phones at the speed of light across every global border with no banking fees or other transactional friction. This incorruptible currency will immediately start pulling wealth and assets from every other nation around the globe back into the United States, restoring the strength of our dollar
I'm gonna cry.
and repairing our balance of payments. 6 months before his assassination, my uncle President John F. Kennedy, signed an executive order that put silver coins in competition with the notes issued by the Fed. His intention was to rein in Fed discretion. He had been a critic of Fed policy, and he hoped to end
I'm gonna cry.
monetary policy.
I'm so happy. I can't believe this is real.
Debasement of the U.S. dollar. He understood that a highly leveraged economy leads directly to the destructive kind of wealth inequality that is today eroding American democracy and generating violence and division and discontent and hopelessness. Notably, after my uncle's assassination, the government immediately stopped issuing those silver coins and power returned to the Fed. My uncle apparently understood the potential for the Fed to evolve itself into a tyranny. Bitcoin has the potential to return monetary discipline to the Fed and to restore the dollar as the unchallenged global reserve currency.
I mean, he has an actual plan.
Bitcoin can fortify the dollar. It can also secure
Hi, everyone tuning in.
America's position.
I'm trying not to talk too much. This is going on YouTube. But say hello.
I understand that tomorrow President Trump may announce his plan to build a Bitcoin Fort Knox and authorize the U.S. government to buy 1 million Bitcoin as
Are you hearing this?
reserve asset. And I applaud that announcement, and we should all applaud it.
Wait. Was spoilers? Was that spoilers? Wait. Let me. Oh, I don't have my coin bubbles up.
I hope.
Okay. We'll check after.
Bitcoin is more than political expediency. The most cynical political reason for endorsing Bitcoin is to excite the 60 million Bitcoin American holders by policies that make the number go up. But it's my hope that President Trump and the DNC nominee, who he or she may be, will develop a deeper understanding of the earth-shaking reasons.
There's an over 80% chance it's Kamala.
Bitcoin has a strategic reserve in the U.S. Treasury.
Guys, this is insane.
Is laid out in U.S. Space Force major Jason Lowery's MIT thesis entitled
Could you imagine? The United States decides the way they're going to pay off their debt is by buying Bitcoin.
Major Lowery points
an actual
out
scarce hard asset.
Bitcoin has been mischaracterized as money, when in fact it is a cyber defense system that will protect our online identities and data in cyberspace. Just as we have an Air Force to protect our skies and a Navy to protect our seas, Bitcoin can protect us against potential cyber attacks. It is a cyber defense weapon and a classic example of unrecognized use.
Oh, that's
Here's
true.
An analogous example. The Chinese invented gunpowder, and then they used it as medicine for 200 years before other countries recognized that it was the most potent tool for power projection. Today, the popularly assumed use of Bitcoin is money. But Bitcoin is also a power projection weapon that can protect our currency and everything that we do online from cyber attacks.
Whoa.
The first country that recognizes this function will be the new global superpower.
Oh, it's so good.
We need to grab the reins and harness Bitcoin's full potential.
Agree.
If we want to regain and consolidate our title as leader of the free world.
Guys, this speech could not be going better
USA
for Bitcoin.
204,000 Bitcoins, the fifth largest Bitcoin wallet in the world. Adding Bitcoin to that reserve will help secure the future of the United States for the next 250 years. One of my first hires in the Kennedy administration would be Major Lowery as my top advisor. As my top advisor for my national security team. Another important use of Bitcoin for America and the world is the one that is dearest to my heart, capturing carbon and incentivizing green energy production through Bitcoin mining. I served for 40 years as an environmental champion and for a decade as a partner in the green tech venture capital firm Vantage Point, which is the #1 green tech energy and technology firm in the world. I played key roles in developing some of the world's largest solar and wind power generation projects. Critics of Bitcoin have wrongly cast it as an environmental threat because of its high energy demand. The opposite, of course, is true. Bitcoin miners are more sensitive to energy pricing than any other industry. This means that they can only survive in the marketplace by utilizing the cheapest energy, and that invariably means waste energy and surplus power. For example, methane from landfills would otherwise go into the atmosphere, but Bitcoin miners are uniquely able to harness it as an energy source. Bitcoin mining is also the ideal partner for renewable energy and variable power projects like wind and solar. My personal experience in energy project finance left me with a deep appreciation for the critical potential for Bitcoin mining as a reliable profit center for renewable energy projects that need flexible, on-site, off-peak customers for intermittent energy generation in order to get financing. Bitcoin miners are the ideal partners for these kind of projects. All right. Let's lean into some of the other ways that Bitcoin is good for Americans
going
and
so.
for America.
Hey! Chill with the camera.
President
Who's doing
Nixon
that?
took us off the gold standard in 1971 to finance the Vietnam War.
What's going on?
Since
Earthquake
then,
over
the
there?
dollar's purchasing power has been in precipitous decline, eroding savings and earnings of everyday Americans. Alan Greenspan, who was the chair of the Fed for 20 years, even warned that, quote, in the absence of a gold standard, there is no way to prevent savings from confiscation through inflation, end quote. Inflation, as
Fully
we all know,
agree.
is theft. It's almost always theft from the poor. The Fed has engineered an uber-efficient money printing machine to perpetrate the systematic robbery that has gutted the American middle class and decimated America's working poor. The obscene money printing has drained our citizens of their purchasing power through the hidden tax of inflation. And it was the Trump and Biden administration's reckless embrace of money printing that have pushed the middle class over the tipping point now. American households are now buckling under the strain. Let's look at it simply.
No one can afford houses
If you
anymore.
had $1,000 6 years ago,
Every time you go to the grocery store,
that $1,000
it's over $100
has
bucks.
a value of $520 today in terms of its capacity to purchase goods and services. Mortgages have doubled in 4 years. No wonder half of the 18 to 30-year-olds are still living at home, unable to afford the homes that provide the first step toward the American dream. No wonder our younger Americans are marrying later, delaying or even abandoning the choice to start a family. Their dwindling purchasing power forces them into these sacrifices. The hopelessness of the task of steadily growing savings, which we all assumed that was just part of our lives, it has pushed, and now today this generation is facing these moving goalposts. They make
This is
money,
heartbreaking.
they think they're doing well, and then the money disappears. And
Heartbreaking.
not for anything they did, but because inflation. And it has pushed this whole generation into a kind of financial nihilism. And it's contributed to the epidemics of depression, of suicide, of hopelessness, of alienation, of dispossession, of the loss of pride in our country, the loss of hope for their own generation and their own futures among young Americans. Healthcare costs are also increasing exponentially. I talked a couple of months ago with a young New Hampshire couple, and they told me with tears in their eyes how they had gotten in an argument, the husband and wife, holding a crying baby in their arms at night and having to wonder about whether that baby was $50 sick or $100 sick, or $500 sick before they brought them to the emergency room. Over half of Americans cannot put their hands on $1,000 if they have emergency. If you are part of that cohort and the engine light goes on in your car, it is the apocalypse, because you know you're not going to be able to afford the mechanic. You won't be able to get to work. You won't be able to pay your rent, and then you're going to be out on the sidewalk. And that decile has ended up with this army, tent encampments in the cities that I live in Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco, and all over the country, where armies of Americans, of hardworking Americans, are now living because the engine light came on in their car, or they got 2 flat tires at once, or they had some other expense that was unanticipated. Walk outside and you're going to see it. Time and again, I'm hearing from elderly Americans about how they cut their prescription pills in two to make them last at the end of the week. They're choosing between gasoline and home heating oil and food. So many mothers have told me that they're downgrading ingredients to get out the grocery store checkout line. Americans today are being forced to make these gut-wrenching
It's so
decisions
sad what's going
because
on.
our money is broken.
Yeah.
With a beleaguered American middle class.
So sad what's going on with our dollar. No one can afford houses. No one can afford kids. No one can afford it. Groceries,
Middle class,
medications.
Off-ramp from the inflation highway of doom. If the world were on a Bitcoin standard and our money held its value, we would all have the ability to live more abundant lives. Bitcoiners have it right. Fix the money, fix the world.
That was so good. That's not it, though. That was just a line. What a great line. Ugh.
The discipline of tying our dollars to hard assets like Bitcoin will also finally break our addiction to forever wars. Fiat currency was invented to fund war. As I pointed out just now, President Nixon got us off the gold standard in 1971 because printing fiat currency was the only way to continually finance the
Vietnam War. Yep.
Prior to fiat currency, when a country ran out of money, the war would end. Or if a government wanted to fund a war, it would issue war bonds and borrow the money from its citizens, or it would tell them in advance, we're going to tax you. Today, governments don't need to even ask that permission. They just print the money. And if the war,
disastrous.
and they fund the war with fake money. If the world was on a Bitcoin standard, then there would be no war because the governments can't print Bitcoin.
Crazy what's coming, guys.
I'm a proponent of Bitcoin because it can defund the military-industrial complex. That
some people don't have any Bitcoin in 2024.
Not on national defense, but on international global domination. And I'll say this, during the height of the Cold War, the military budget was about $500 billion in 2024 dollars. Today, it's double that. Why do we need twice the money that we needed during the height of the Cold War? Well, we need it because it has nothing to do with national defense. It has to do with global hegemony and international domination that is actually counterproductive.
What's going on?
It's bankrupting us at home. And
it's not me, right? It's them. That's them, right?
It has destroyed our relationships and our moral authority across the globe. Oh, let me say it again. If governments couldn't print money with a couple of keystrokes on a computer, they wouldn't be able to fund wars that never end. Again, fix the money, fix the world.
I mean, that's what we're here for, right?
One of the main reasons
this could not be going better. This is going so well.
The war machine.
Wow.
To reach that goal,
it's so nice to hear such high-ranking, politicians be saying such crazy bullish things for Bitcoin.
The conversion of Bitcoin back into dollars will be non-reportable transaction to the IRS and not subject to capital gains.
Oh my goodness, that would be so fantastic. You don't have to pay ridiculous capital gains tax on your own Bitcoin, your true honest money.
The right to privacy. As a constitutionalist, I'm adamant defender of our right to financial and transactional privacy. When U.S. citizens are required to report every Bitcoin transaction to the IRS, the government knows everything that we are doing with our money. Governments have no business knowing your business.
Man, he's so awesome. He's so great.
More importantly, making the direct ownership of Bitcoin tax-free creates financial incentive to own Bitcoin and not a Bitcoin ETF, which is a security.
He's so
and therefore
great.
Subject to capital
It's a shame
gains.
he's polling so.
This is crucial because direct ownership of Bitcoin keeps it decentralized and
not well.
And that is the only way to prevent BlackRock and other global asset managers from having undue influence over the Bitcoin network, over its forks, and over its upgrades. In 2014, the IRS declared Bitcoin to be property and regulated the purchase
how is Bitcoin
and
responding
sale
to this?
as a capital transaction.
Where's
It's
Bitcoin?
important
Really
to
quick.
understand that this tax law was never passed
Bitcoin
by
just broke
Congress,
over 68.
and
It's
it
at
was never signed
68.2.
into law
It's
by
up
the
nearly
President of the
1% in
United
1 hour in response to
the IRS
this.
and the SEC simply usurped government power in order to suppress decentralized financial democracy. The U.S. Supreme Court recently, of the Chevron doctrine, reopens that decision. And that decision has allowed freedom-fighting Bitcoiners to challenge the constitutionality of taxing Bitcoin for the 2024 year. I'm telling you today that I will never, ever sign a law that taxes direct ownership of Bitcoin.
Oh, my goodness. He's so great. I hope he sticks around in politics.
I will use my power to reverse any law that does so. I will end
He's
the
not-
Biden administration's
His
war on
numbers, he's
Bitcoin.
polling under 1%.
Tax-free Bitcoin
So
is not only critical
the chance of him winning is
to
virtually
financial
none.
autonomy,
But hopefully he sticks
freedom,
around.
and
And,
privacy. It is essential to keep it decentralized and democratic as Satoshi created it to be.
But hopefully he sticks around in politics because he is so good. He is so good. I hope he sticks
Finally,
around.
Bitcoin guarantees property rights. With freely transactable Bitcoin, no government will be able to confiscate or tax your wealth at the border. This is another example of Bitcoin's potency as a weapon against totalitarianism. So as this election cycle starts to heat up, you have choices to make. You've heard what I propose to do. Let's compare that to what my Republican opponent proposes. And I welcome President Trump's new enthusiasm for Bitcoin.
Yo, that
He's
speech
only
tomorrow
weeks into the
will
Bitcoin
be
dialogue.
crazy.
And I have the
Make sure
advantage
to
of
subscribe and turn
being
notifications
longer.
on so you can join us tomorrow live.
Hopefully his learning
during
curve
that
will
party
mirror
of
the
a
time
speech.
that I went through. My guess is that initially, at least, there's going to be a lot of talk about pricing and how a change in government policies can make Bitcoiners wealthy. But we all know that that is just one of the minor points to Bitcoin.
I just broke my pen.
Bitcoin is about something much bigger.
This is just going so well, guys. This is such great news.
Bitcoin is about our souls. It's about our values. The price go up feature is the least of all of its attributes. President Trump
I'm going to cry.
has a long way to go to explain how his personal values align with those of Bitcoiners. If he doesn't do that, then we don't really have any assurance, do we, that his endorsement is not another ephemeral monetary policy fad du jour. That assurance will require him to repudiate some of the central policies of his last administration. During his years in the White House, President Trump had consistently spoke out against Bitcoin. In December of 2020, he was openly hostile to Bitcoin.
Here's the political side of this. Here's the ugly political side, guys.
This was a time when Americans, particularly more than any time,
he's trying to get votes from Trump.
Any store of
he's trying to steal some of Trump supporters.
Compensate for the hits to their income from the lockdowns, from the declining purchasing power due to the money printing orgy and the COVID closures of all of our businesses. In 2021, President Trump doubled down and declared that Bitcoin, it just seems like a scam. I don't like it because it's another currency competing against the dollar. I'm happy that President Trump has had this evolution. I'm proud that I helped blaze a trail that made it easier for other political leaders to follow. And
I mean, this rhetoric is so positive.
I'm grateful to the 50 or 60 million Bitcoiners like Michael Saylor who were there before me and helped me understand the nation-saving potential of Bitcoin. Every Bitcoiner I know shares my own yearning for freedom, or my skepticism toward official orthodoxies and pronouncements, and an inclination for critical thinking that I most admire. During COVID, neither President Trump nor President Biden protected our constitutional rights. They both restricted our right to assemble, to worship. They closed our churches.
He's trying to get
funeral for grandma, no weddings.
the political side,
They
guys.
closed our businesses without due process or just compensation in violation of the Fifth Amendment. They ended the Seventh Amendment right to jury trials. They assaulted the Fourth Amendment prohibition against warrantless searches and seizures, and also both these administrations allowed the FBI and the spy agencies to suppress our rights to free speech by working with social media companies to deplatform people who criticize government policies. I hope that President Trump's change of heart in Bitcoin is evidence of a newfound and deep-seated commitment to personal freedoms.
I mean, we'll see tomorrow at 2 p.m.
to our Bill of Rights.
together.
Will President Trump fight for Bitcoin if he's elected? I wish he had mentioned Bitcoin in the RNC speech.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
He spent a lot
I
of
think we
last
all were
week
wishing that.
attacking President Bukele of El Salvador, the only country
Yeah.
on a Bitcoin standard. President Bukele is the most popular president in El Salvador's history. And with Bitcoin,
I agree. I kind of did not like that either.
around. Bitcoin helped him grow the
Right.
economy
Bitcoin
and
is
reduce crime.
legal tender in El
The
Salvador.
US should want to take a page from President Bukele's playbook and learn some of the lessons that he has to teach us about Bitcoin.
What's up, guys, if you're just tuning in now?
And even more alarming, President Trump
Say hello in chat.
last month with Bloomberg floated the idea of bringing on Jamie Dimon as his Secretary of Treasury.
No, that's false. It's false. It's false. That was proven.
I'm grateful that President Trump yesterday walked back that comment, but I'm not sure how he could have ever considered bringing on one of the biggest long-time critics of Bitcoin and the world's ultimate advocate for centralized control if he truly is committed in his soul to the freedom and decentralization that
RFK is trying really hard to get all the pro-Bitcoiner votes.
Those choices don't match the spiritual alignment of Bitcoin.
It might work.
Bitcoin represents I mean, personally, I would rather see somebody like Michael Saylor or Caitlin Long as Treasury Secretary.
How awesome would that be?
brilliant. They are encyclopedic. They're forward-thinking. They deeply love our country. And they represent the ideals of decentralization and economic democracy. Finally, President Trump has had 4 years to pardon Ross Ulbricht and Julian Assange and Edward Snowden. And he didn't do it. And we need to ask ourselves why. I've looked into those cases, and I plan on pardoning them all on day one.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness, dude! Dude! Yes!
In this election year, I encourage you to study your choices. Look at the candidates' policy, but more importantly, look at their actions to decide if they are genuinely part of the problem or if they're part of the solution. Decide if they align with what you believe in your heart. Remember, Americans need, and remember what Americans need and what we want, and then vote accordingly. I want to leave you today with a core belief in Bitcoin, in the Bitcoin community.
Here we go.
Bitcoin is the currency of freedom, the currency of liberty, the currency of hope. It restores self-sovereignty back to the individual, which is the whole purpose of American democracy. It gives us digital property rights, which is the core of our democracy. And it provides a store of value that will allow middle-class Americans to live in abundance again. I want to be the president who can bring back hope. And I'm grateful to be part of your Bitcoin community. In fact, I don't think of myself as red. I don't think of myself as blue, and I don't even think of myself as purple.
Orange. He's going to say orange.
Those are the colors of the political parties. Instead, I think of myself as orange.
Yeah, that was so good. Oh my goodness. I wish you were polling better. He's so great. No, I wish you were polling better, man. That was so good. He's the orange candidate. Guys, Bitcoin's logo is orange. This microphone.
That is the color of freedom. And it's true that President Trump has orange hair. And I can only admire him for that from afar. I'll never be able to match him on that.
That's true.
It's a really great start.
His hair is like orange.
But I have an orange heart. And that's what you should support. Thank you all very much.
That was so good. Guys, that was so good. What did you think of that? Thank you for watching on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe, like, and turn notifications on so you can join us tomorrow live for the Trump speech. Guys, this is for YouTube. See you soon. Guys, that was just wild. Hi, everyone that's still here. That was our headline keynote for today. So before we end it, does anyone want to share any altcoins? We can do a little bit of charting, discuss some altcoins, discuss if anyone has any comments. Otherwise, we could just end it here. Make sure to subscribe and like. Can I show you what happens if you subscribe? Look what happens if you subscribe. If you hit the subscribe button, where is it? There's my alert box. Play it. Okay, well, it's bugging, so I can't even show you, but I would get normally a laughing picture of Luffy, the pirate. Okay, but it's not working. I don't know why. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Does anyone have... That was so good. That was so good. Orange heart. All right, everyone, thank you. I'm going to end it here, and I will see you all tomorrow. I'm probably going to start the stream a little bit later just because there's no morning events, but I will see you all tomorrow, probably at around 2 o'clock for the Donald Trump speech.
It has been an amazing 5 years and 8
Thank you, everyone, for watching. Bye-bye.
Bitcoin conference has become the